Hello, everybody. It is Potts-Schissler with Destination Breakthrough. I'm a business and leadership coach, and I am with my very good friend and esteemed attorney, business attorney, estate planning attorney.
I don't know if I'm esteemed, but
You are esteemed.
hello.
He is good. This is Brandon Campbell with Oxford Campbell and Beck PC, and he has agreed to sit down and do an interview with us today to give you some practical, real-world business advice, not only from his own life, but from the clients that you serve and what it is you help them do. So
Yes.
I've got some questions we're going to be asking here today.
Perfect.
I'll try and stay on script, but sometimes it's fun if I go off a
That's
little
all
bit.
right. That's all right.
So why don't you tell us first about your career journey? How did you go from working for attorneys to getting into your own practice? Yeah.
So I started out working for a judge after law school, and that gave me some experience working in the probate realm. I also handled some juvenile matters, just various things. I then went to a small firm that I was at for 5 years, and then I went to another small firm for about a year and a half before I finally set up shop myself. So that journey was really built on gaining experience. I needed to make sure that if I ever did go out on my own, I actually knew what I was doing. There are a lot of attorneys that will start off immediately after school and open their own shop, which is fine, but presents a lot of danger not having somebody who knows what they're doing overseeing what you're doing. The bigger thing was I finally reached a point after having worked for other people that my philosophy, my practice method, my processes, they just weren't what the other people were using. And I
Okay.
needed a platform that I could actually go out and do things the way I needed to and the way that ethically I felt like I had to do in order to best serve clients.
Okay. Well, I remember when we first sat down, we were at Mod Market. And
Yes.
it was our first, I think it was your first year in our business group that we were in together.
It was many years
It
ago.
was. Well, it's not like 25 or anything like that, when you were two. But I remember trying to add value to say, here are some of the things from my perspective as a business coach, just overall strategy for you to think of, take care of, and get going on. And you took it, and you took that advice along with a lot of other people's advice, and went into owning your own practice.
Yes.
Um,
I was being kicked in the behind by many, many people to
Yeah.
go out and do my own thing, and then I finally did.
yeah.
So
So what, in your opinion, what were some of those first-time business owner lessons that you had to learn?
I think the first and biggest thing is learning how to set yourself up, because not even from a legal standpoint, just in general, where are you, number one, geographically? Who are you working with? Who is helping you with starting your business? A lot of people try to go it on their own, and it's so much harder. You need to find the people that will support you and give you the business that you're going to need to get yourself off the ground. You know, one of my closest friends, she was one of the people that was pushing me more and more and more to go out, and she kept saying, I will give you the business. You just need to go out and do this. So for me, one of the biggest lessons was really figuring out what does this look like for me, and how can I use and leverage the people around me to make this a success, to make this actually a viable option for me, so that in 6 months I wasn't having to close my doors and figure out my life all over again.
Wow, right. Okay, so how did you set up time with them? I think sometimes people feel like they're going to be a burden, or they're just absolutely clueless.
People-
And they are a burden, and they take everybody's time. So how did you go about finding the people to surround yourself with, and how did you set your board up, basically?
So, number one, people always feel like they're not doing it right. People always feel like they're a burden. And people, one of the problems that I run into routinely in my practice is people come to me because they made a mistake that really easily could have been avoided, but they never took the time either to ask somebody, or they felt bad. They did ask somebody, but then they felt bad about taking more time getting the help that they actually needed. So for me, one of the biggest things was I surrounded myself with close friends who were essential advisors for me, people who had financial experience, people who were similarly situated as me, who owned their own practice, people who had experience managing clients. any number of things that I might have needed. I had people in my corner, and I talked to them in advance. I asked them, is it okay if I call you? Is it okay if I email you? Are there certain days or times or months or whatever that are better for you that you can work with me on these things so that I'm not going to be a burden?
Okay.
If you flush out those things in advance, you easily can set yourself up in a way that you know who your support system is, when you can utilize that support system, and to what extent you can utilize that support system so that you can do this effectively. Again, one of the bigger issues is people feel embarrassed or they feel they're a burden or whatever the issue is. So even if they have that person in their corner, if they haven't worked out these details and they reach out and somebody says, hey, I'm not available right now, they feel like, okay, well, now they're not available at any point, and so I can't go back to them.
Okay. Yeah.
So you need to set up that system before you act on it, and then just have confidence that the people that you've chosen to be your advisors, they're going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Don't feel like asking them 2 questions is too many. They will tell you if you're crossing a line. They will tell you if you need to hire them. They will tell you if this is outside of their area of expertise and you need to go talk to somebody else.
Yeah. Now here's this one. Was there a lesson that you just didn't prepare for and it happened to you? One that you went through it and then your advisor was like, oh yeah, that. Oh yeah, that. And you're like, what do you mean, yeah, that? You didn't tell me about yeah, that. Do you have a yeah, that?
I don't think I do,
Okay.
but I see it every day with clients.
What's their yeah, that then?
Theirs is typically they haven't gone through and set up something that they should have. So the most common issue that I run into is client contracts. Something very simple. Somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm in the trade, I'm a roofer or an electrician or something. And I say, okay, well, among many other things you need to be thinking about, do you have a contract that people use, that they sign, that governs the relationship and that will help define how everything works? And they'll say, well, I downloaded something, or I looked at a friend's, and I have a couple things, and somebody signs my invoice, and then we're good. I'll say, okay, I really strongly advise you, please put something together. And then inevitably, that person will call me back in a week or a month or 6 months and say, all right, I messed up. I had this issue with the client, and I don't know how to fix it. And I'll say, okay, well, what does the contract say? Well, it doesn't say anything. All right, well, now we have a problem. And so then we have to fix it. And almost everything has a solution, but the question is, how expensive is that solution going to be? So the aha moment for a lot of people, or the, I never say this, but the I told you so moment is frequently something basic that every single business should have. They neglect to have it, like a client contract, for example.
Right. And you said 3 things so far that go into my world: emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And I find that most people make their biggest mistakes being hijacked in their insecurity and in their fear. And then they like to surround and protect that fear through money.
Yes.
Saying, I just don't have the money for that.
Yes.
What do you find? So what is the actual cost of maybe putting some contracts together versus what you find their lost cost is because they didn't get over it and just spend the money?
So it's a substantial difference. Obviously, that's why you're asking the question.
Right.
It's substantial. What I can tell you is, when people come to me for business, let's say business formation, you're a brand new person, brand new entity, you're getting your feet off the ground, you come see me before anything starts. So typically, if it's a single person and it's not a medical business, those are a little bit different. People usually pay me upwards of $1,000 to get everything. To form the business, get the client contracts, get your subcontractor agreements, whatever you might need.
Yeah.
If it's 2 or more people coming together, it might be $1,500, $2,000.
That's nothing.
No, it's not. But that's to get everything.
Nothing. So what do they think in their head that that's too, like?
Well,
what do they?
It's because they think it's going to be $10,000. That's the problem.
So they're just scared to hear the price?
Yeah, people don't.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
people won't come in the first place because they're afraid that they're going to get a quote of $10,000.
Wow.
Which I understand that, but the problem is if you never ask in the first place, you're never going to know.
Right.
So, and that's not the same of every attorney. Some people will charge substantially less. Be careful because you get what you pay for.
That's right.
Some people will charge substantially more, but it's because they represent companies like Walmart. And if you're a solo operation, you shouldn't be going to the same attorneys that represent Walmart. That's crazy.
No.
But on the back end, if somebody comes in and says, I'm running my business, I didn't set up anything, I didn't get contracts, I don't have a subcontractor agreement or an independent contractor agreement, I don't have licensing, I don't have whatever I need, I will tell you that the cost to fix things is usually embedded in litigation. Because that's the only solution.
Yeah.
If people cannot resolve their differences on their own and they don't have a contract that dictates how to resolve the issue, then you end up in litigation. It's called commercial litigation. It typically takes anywhere from 12 to 24 months to go through, and it will cost people upwards of $20,000 to $50,000.
So let's see, spend
$1,000 to $1,500 now, and not $50,000 later.
Basically,
that's huge.
And it just depends on the issue. But I'll tell you that I had a client who came to me, and I had warned her. She's in a trade. Her company is in a trade, and she's absolutely wonderful. She was taking over this company from some prior people.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, it's very, very important. You need to have blank. It was a certain issue with her contracts. You must have this. And she said, yeah, I'll get to it. We don't have the money right now. And I said, I will work with you, but if that's your choice, that's your choice.
Yeah.
So she called me up 3 months later, 4 months later, and said, I have a problem.
Oops.
You're going to say I told you so. I did not say that, but she thought I was going to. But she said, you're going to say I told you so. This issue happened, and it is a $35,000 bill. And I need to know what to do to get out of it.
Wow.
And one of the first and only times I said this, I told her, I said, nothing. You have to pay it. Because there's literally nothing I can do outside of you going to litigation, which is going to be much more than the $35,000. To get out of it, I said, you have to pay it.
Yeah.
And so she went back, and they ended up negotiating, and she paid a lower amount, I think around $20,000.
Yeah.
But the fact was, it was a $20,000 mistake.
Yeah. Wow.
And then so those are the ones like you and I, when we first started talking, I've had a client in my past, and they didn't set up their exit strategy at the beginning of the business.
Most people don't.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's terrible.
And so they don't define who does what, whose roles are what, so that when they get into it and life starts getting hectic and people start feeling like their share of burden of workload isn't fair, they don't have a legal document to go back to their roles.
Correct.
And stay within the lane. Then they go to the money side. I'm giving this, and I'm spending this amount of time in it, and you're only doing this, and so there's that difference between
Correct.
the effort in the business and the role versus your capital investment as an owner. And do you find that mess too?
That
you don't define it, and it is a mess.
That is one of the. It's one of the worst cases I ever had.
Yeah.
So I had a company. This was another trade company.
Yeah.
There were two owners who had been running the business. They knew all of essentially the concepts and the work. They generated all of the business. After a couple of years, they found a third person who was interested. He promised to come in. He would help them run the business. He would help them drive clientele. He would help them raise the stakes, basically.
Right.
He gets into the business. They make him a third owner. They signed nothing.
Oh,
No agreements, no anything, no planning of any kind. Did not speak with an attorney. All that they had was an accountant who, unfortunately, didn't advise them or to speak with an attorney, or did, and they just didn't listen.
Right.
But in the end, this third person had been in the business for a few years and refused to do anything, actually. He stopped speaking to them, but he was still collecting his paycheck. He was living in the space.
Yes.
He moved into the office.
Oh my gosh.
And he was just a big burden, honestly. They came to me and said, how do we get him out?
Right.
To which I had to respond and say, there's nothing you can do short of dissolving the business.
Right.
Because If a person doesn't leave voluntarily and he was refusing, then the only way you can get them out is to go and what we call forcibly partition or sell the business or dissolve it.
Right.
So in that particular case, we negotiated. I made multiple offers. I tried to settle the situation with this third person. He wouldn't even respond.
Wow.
He then engaged an attorney who also would not respond. And ultimately, I had to tell these guys, I'm sorry, but there is nothing I can do. Your only option here is to dissolve the business to get him out of it, in which they've been running for about 8 years.
Wow.
They had their banking set up, their insurance, all of their taxes. They had their office space. They had their suppliers. If they dissolved the business, they had to redo all of that from scratch, and that would be another several $1,000s.
Right.
So I'll tell you, they restructured their wages and payroll and all of that to stop paying the third owner.
Okay.
He's still an owner. He is still an owner as of today.
My goodness.
And that was years ago because their essentially last resort option of dissolving the business was just too much.
Right.
And so they said, we'll just not pay him, but he will continue to be an owner.
Oh my gosh.
And as of this day, he's still an owner because they never signed anything.
You know, I find arrogance, ego, and pride are some of the absolute worst challenges and barriers in business.
It is.
And that's kind of what I'm hearing you're sharing with me. You've shared some things that go wrong, but you're in the business of doing what's right. So
Correct.
When it goes wrong, it sounds like it's pride, arrogance, fear.
Usually, I would say more along the lines of ignorance and fear. There are people who are just proud and difficult to deal with, but that's really few and far between.
Okay.
A lot of people, I'll be honest, I think they get into something because either they're passionate about it or because they're just good at it. They open their own business because they've been a great electrician for years or a great web designer or a great nurse practitioner or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they say, you know what, I can do this great and I can make more money doing it myself. And so they get into it, which is great. It's a wonderful idea to go in for yourself when you can do it. But the problem is they jump into it and they think, well, I'm great at A.
So the E myth, right?
Yeah.
I'm great at baking a cupcake or a
yeah. And so naturally I should be great at B. I'm great at designing a website, so of course I'm great at filing taxes. Those things, they don't compute. But that's a mentality that a lot of people have because you're spending so much time and energy that naturally you should be able to handle these things yourself just because you're putting in the effort. But it's simply not the case for most people. And, myself, I tell my clients all the time, I don't file my own taxes. I do not have the wherewithal to do that, nor do I have the patience. So I hire somebody to do that. That's crazy. If I screw up my own taxes, that is my fault.
Yeah.
If my CPA screws up my taxes, that is their fault.
That's right.
So you have to shift your perspective in terms of how you go about setting things up.
You said something that makes me come up with a new phrase. We're going to coin it right here. Y'all heard it here. Effort deception. Right? That people are deceived by how much effort things are going to take.
Yes.
And I find that they either overinflate the effort when it's actually minimal, or they underinflate the effort, which they never realized it was actually going to take as much as it actually takes.
Yes.
And where we can come in and be helpful is to say, okay, let's first of all take a look at your earnings, and then let's take a look at your debt threshold. And say, so for instance, for people who are really, really good practitioners but horrible office managers, they need to hire office management vendors and or an actual office manager in. But they're like, well, I'll just work longer hours. I'll just streamline it through automation. Or they come up with all of these deceptive effort tactics. At the end of the day, they are not making as much money. Their life is burning out, typically at home and whatnot. Whereas if they could just do that, if they could realize, you know what, I'm going to put a line in the sand. Here's what I do well. Here's what I don't do well. And if I have to earn the extra money to fund that role, then I at least need to put a date and a time stamp on it so that I have a light at the end of the tunnel for when I can hire that in. Or recognize my debt is going to increase. But by having somebody else do that, I'm going to ramp up my sales and pay that off. And again, a light at the end of the tunnel deadline.
So 2 notes on that. One is when I sit down with business owners, we do what's called an audit. So in that situation, I go through and I identify not only legal issues, but we talk about insurance, we talk about taxes, we talk about bookkeeping, we talk about marketing, websites, everything, to the point of people, they feel a little bit overwhelmed by the end. And I give people a checklist. It's 2 pages, but it's every conceivable issue that might come up in your business.
From a legal standpoint.
Well, legal, and it has IT and insurance and tax. It has all of those things in it. But every single time, whether it's a brand new owner or an existing business owner, they get up and they say, wow, that is so much more than I thought. But I tell people it's because running a business, there's so many moving parts. And if you don't recognize what all those moving parts are, or you haven't greased all of the right wheels, you will run into a problem. It is a guarantee. And so at least having an understanding of those, you can plan for it. Now, the second issue with this effort deception is I get so many people that will say, well, I'll just do my own bookkeeping. Okay. How many hours will it take you to do your bookkeeping? Maybe 3 or 4, in a week. Okay. How much do you bill per hour? Well, I bill $100 an hour. So you're spending $300 to $400 a week to do your bookkeeping. Well, no, I'm doing it. No, you're not making money. You are spending $300 to $400 a week. Talk to a bookkeeper. How much are they going to charge you? Well, they quoted me $60. Okay, so you can spend $60 so that you can go make $400.
That's right.
That's one of the things that people like us do regularly is just shifting perspectives of it's not the outward expense that you need to worry about. It's the lost income that you need to factor into every decision that you're making.
Right. You make a good business coach. You're a good business coach.
I'm a business psychologist.
Yeah, you are. Ditto. So let's talk for a few moments about something that you've become passionate about, and that is the direct marketing world.
Yes.
So you yourself have some experience in direct marketing.
Yes, substantial.
And then I've sent clients to you who are in the direct marketing world, and these people that I come across, they get hijacked by their ignorance in the contract. They think they understand the contract, but they feel stuck and bound and imprisoned by it. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about that world and the value that you can bring to them, because we want to send them your way.
So this is for anybody out there, this is the direct sales, multi-level marketing, network marketing. There are a number of different words for it. It's all the same thing. Essentially what it is when people go to sell for a company. So for example, Amway. Amway is one of the biggest ones. There's the ones that have been around for decades, like Melaleuca and Young Living, all of those. The idea is you sign up to sell a product or a service on behalf of a company. It's a home business, effectively. You build a team of people under you, and you receive some residual or some piece of their earnings that they generate. And so the bigger the team and the more earnings, the more money you make. There are people in this world that make 7 figures a year, easily, working from home. It's a great idea, but I will tell you, that is about 1%, maybe less, of that population. A lot of people will be in the couple of $1,000s a month range, which is fantastic even. If you're able to work from home and generate that without putting in a ton of effort, that's spectacular. So on that note, the biggest problem that I tend to see, I think conceptually, is people believe that their company is there for them, that their company is there to protect them, to guide them, that their company is going to help them. And that is not the case at all. Think about it, as an employee and you're generating sales or something for your business, how much is your business trying to protect you? It's protecting itself. They're paying you a wage, but that's about the end of it. So people in the direct sales world need to have that same mentality of, this company is great and I'm making a lot of money off of it, but at the end of the day, that company is there for itself. And if something happens, that company will defend itself. And if it can, it might defend me, but that's not its top priority. So the biggest issue that a lot of people have is understanding what their rights and their limitations are within their contract that they have with the company. So this is usually called like a teammate agreement or a representative agreement or a sales agent agreement, something like that, where it's an independent contractor agreement. It creates a 1099 relationship between this person and the parent company, and it defines everything. What is our legal relationship? What's our legal status? How do I go about building business? What can I do and what can't I do?
That's the one. That's one.
One of the biggest issues is how can I market? That's usually one of the pitfalls that people run into is they'll create a Facebook page because they're trying to build a network. And then all of a sudden they get a very, very unpleasant letter from their company that says, you can't have a Facebook page. Okay, take it down or we're going to terminate you.
Right.
Or sue you. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can sell, I'm going to go and put my products on Amazon because that's a great thing. You generally cannot do that. And if they find out about it, they'll come after you. The people in the health and supplement world, this is huge. What can you say about the product? This is absolutely awful because a lot of times you will hear of people in that company saying, my sister took this and her blood pressure went down. My brother took this while he was on chemo and he had great results. That implies that this drug, A, can cure or at least limit heart disease, or B, can cure cancer.
Yeah.
And those representations can be really dangerous and they can lead to massive lawsuits.
That's right.
So people, when they come into these situations, they start and they jump off because this is a great opportunity and I'm going to build a business without knowing what their limitations are.
Right.
And then what they don't know typically, and this is true for almost every single company out there, is that company at its sole discretion, when it feels like it, can terminate your business at any moment without notice to you.
That's right.
On any given day, your account can be shut off. And that's the end of it. So understanding your contract keeps you out of a lot of the pitfalls and a lot of the legal issues with the company. But it also allows you then to educate the people you're bringing into the company.
Right.
If you're building a team and somebody below you screws up, guess what? They're going to get in trouble, and so is the person who was mentoring them. So is the person who was overseeing them. So this will allow you to build a stronger network and a stronger team below you so that regardless of what happens and who causes the problem, your income is not at risk.
Okay. So, again, I look at this for people who are listening, they're like, yeah, no, that's me. That's happened to me. Or people are thinking, I've always thought about getting into those, but now you just scared me. So,
yes.
It's not going to have to be scary.
It's not. It's really not.
But how do you help people? So for instance, I've sent people your way to say, hey, will you look at their contracts and utilize them, and they blessed you for it. But what can people do to utilize you and still participate in what can be a good model for them?
Yeah. So the biggest things is, number one, going into business under an MLM or direct sales, whatever you want to call that. It's the exact same thing as starting your own business. People just don't recognize that. True, you don't need to have an office. You don't need to have probably separate insurance. You might. And you don't have to develop contracts or do anything crazy like that. But you're still setting up a business. You are developing a clientele. You're having to manage your income. You're having business expenses. You have new tax issues. You have bookkeeping issues. You have file management issues potentially. You're buying and selling product. There's all these things that come up. You are a real business. So the biggest advice that I can give people is treat it like a business. One of the, I think, big problems that I have to overcome with people is them coming in and saying, well, it's not a real business. I'm just selling things. I'm just with an MLM.
Yeah.
But I'm making $500,000 a year. That's a real business.
Right.
So
you're going to pay some real taxes and have some real liabilities.
But the issue with that I see is, well, it's not a real business, so I'm not going to treat it like one. I'm not going to deduct business expenses even though I can. I'm not going to have a separate business bank account even though I should. Things like that you really should consider because it can be really advantageous for you financially.
Right.
So people that sell products, for example, when you buy products that you're using for demonstrations and you take to parties and all of that, that's a business expense. That's a deduction. But because you haven't been treating it like a business, you're not taking advantage of that financially. So what I tell people is, don't be scared about going into it because it's like a business just like anybody else. But if you work with somebody that knows what they're doing, they might be able to help you find a lot of lost money.
Yeah.
They might be able to help set you up in a way that streamlines things for you or makes it easier, so that, again, not only can you benefit yourself, but then you're providing that value to the people that you're bringing on under you as a team.
Yeah.
One of the big complaints I receive from people in the network marketing world is, I'm out on my own. I don't have support of people above me. Nobody told me to read my contract. Nobody told me what I couldn't do. And all of a sudden, I'm getting these mean letters from the company saying I screwed something up. So if you have that knowledge, it actually makes it a lot easier for people to come in under you because they know you're going to provide the support. You have actual expertise on what they can do to make this better for them financially. And that not only means that they're going to work with you, but they're going to stick with you longer and they're going to work harder because they know this person has my back. This person is going to help me, and they have the resources. So one of the services I provide, for example, is I will do team meetings. I will have somebody who is kind of running the show, or they're just kind of gathering a lot of their people together, and I will go in and talk to all of them, and I will give them information. Here's what your contract says. Here are some of your limitations. Here's what each of you can do to strengthen your business or protect yourselves more or make this more financially advantageous for you. So it doesn't have to be a one-off situation. I might talk to 30 people, and they then can take that and they can choose what to do with it. From there, people might have further issues. They might want to use my services for that side or for their personal side. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The idea is you can provide value to a lot of people with some very basic concepts.
Right. And that's one of the things I think would actually distinguish team leaders from everybody else is, hey, I have a legal member on my team that helps us navigate through these contracts. So I would think that would be, again, a one-up that you yourself can have in your business or that you can offer to your team. So how do people get a hold of you?
Well, so people get a hold of me, really, however, we have a website, people email, people call. But on that note, though, of kind of the team leaders, what I would also emphasize is when I talk to those people, I also say it would be really advantageous to bring in other people that your people need. So, for example, having a collaborative meeting where there's an attorney, there's a CPA there, there's a financial advisor there, there's a business development person there, there's any number of people that touch on this industry at once, that all questions, all issues, all concerns can be addressed simultaneously.
Right.
I think the biggest impediment to business owners getting things done, whether they're in the network marketing world or they're just a private business owner who wants to do their own thing, is I don't want to have to go to talk to 50 people. I don't want to have 10 meetings in a week with all of these people because it's taking away from my ability to make money.
Right.
So if you can structure it where one person will host this meeting, but you bring in all of the professionals at once, it will not only provide that great value, but it'll do so in a really seamless and efficient way so that people can get all of their things done at once.
That's great, and that's a wonderful service. And the partners that you have, somebody can come and sit down, and especially when you're starting out, but even when you mess up, because you know what, you're going to mess up. It's part of learning how to crawl, walk, run, right?
The most successful business owners I have screwed up royally.
Yay!
And it's a natural thing.
Yeah.
It's how you address it. It's how you respond to client situations or contractor situations or whatever may have gone wrong.
Right.
That really defines how you're going to move forward, because not only does it teach you what not to do in the future, it also teaches you crisis management.
That's right.
And
that's good.
In particular, in my world, there are crises. I have clients that pass away. I have clients that get sued. I have clients that have any number of situations happen to them. And the difference is, do they shut down and run away from the situation, in which case it's going to end terribly because it's not just going to go away, or do they take the initiative? Do they contact somebody? Do they come in and proactively address it so that it doesn't cost them months or years of their life and tens of thousands of dollars?
Right. Well, I know that I'm looking at our time, and we're doing pretty good here. So I'm going to take this and map it out for folks so that they can see some big points. Now, I want to end on a fun note, and what people may or may not know about you is that you are a fan of comics,
Very much so.
right?
Yes.
So, did you see this? I don't think
Yes.
are you a DC
I've
fan?
I've both, but
Okay, so
I've seen that before.
yeah, so I've got Wonder Woman here. But Endgame just came out, right?
Yes.
So, fun question. How is what you do like an Avenger? And if you could be one, you got to pick one, which Avenger would you be?
So you have to swoop in and fix things. Solve problems, whatever it is. That's what heroes are supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best analogy is something like what I do, what you do, what a lot of the professionals in my circle do is we swoop in and we fix things, especially when they've gone wrong and people feel like they're helpless, they don't know what to do, or that this is the end. That this is the end of my business, this is the end of my life financially, whatever the situation is. It's terrible. And I've had those cases of people coming in and they're just sobbing because they feel like they have no remedy, solution, hope to move forward. It's terrible. If I had to pick an Avenger,
Yes. So you bring them hope through the character of.
yes, I would probably be Doctor Strange.
Seriously?
Only because I have to obsessively study everything.
Okay.
And you have to constantly be on top of it.
I thought it would be because you got to do something cool with your fingers.
Well, that's true too.
Can you do it? What does he do?
He does this weird circle thing. I love his character. He's very blunt. He's very straightforward. It's my type of personality.
Okay.
And again, he comes in and he solves problems.
Okay.
So that's really what we need to be in this whole kind of business assistance world. Is you need to do things for people, you need to help people, and you need to do so where you're not taking advantage of people.
Right.
That's one of the frustrations of my industry, I'll be perfectly honest, is things that people need to do, like estate planning, for example. I help people with estate planning, especially business owners. That's most of my clientele.
Yeah.
And I'll have people that come in and say, well, my first attorney charged me $10,000. That's sheer insanity, honestly. People that come in and they formed a business and they say, well, yeah, I mean, the attorney charged me, $7,500 to form my LLC and write my contracts. Honestly, it happens a lot because people don't know. And it's really easy in my particular industry to take advantage of people because there's such a lack of general awareness. The language that we use is foreign to people. Contracts that we use, people just don't understand what they need and when they need it. And so it's really easy for me or anybody else to sit down and say, oh yeah, you need this subcontractor agreement, even though they're never going to use a contractor. You need this, crazy operating agreement. It's 50 pages long to govern your business, even though you're a sole owner. You don't need those things.
Yeah.
But it would be really easy for me to say that because people wouldn't know better.
Yeah.
So integrity is huge.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This was. I was not prepared for the comic book question, but I'm glad that you asked it because it was wonderful.
Very good. Well, the other thing that they don't know about you, but people who get to know you, is that he's an amazing chef.
I love to.
Amazing chef. So if you check out Brandon Campbell, and they can go to your website. So let's talk about what are all the ways you prefer to be contacted.
So we do have a website. We don't generally we don't recommend contacting us through the website only because we have a company that hosts our site and the communication goes through them first. It's just a bit of a runaround, but. Our website, our firm name is Opfer Campbell Beck. Opfer is a very German name.
O-P-F-E-R.
F-E-R. Yes. Campbell is spelled like the soup. C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L. It just makes things easier. So the original name was Opfer Campbell, so that's our website. It's just opfercampbell.com.
Okay. Is there a phone number?
Yeah, so that's 303-791-0995. And our emails are all at opfercampbell.com. So mine's just Brandon at opfercampbell.com, for example. my business partners are both named Ashley. So there's our Ashley at opcampbell.com. But
Awesome.
yeah, contacting us is easy. We're located in Parker, Colorado, but we help people all over. The nice thing about what I do transactionally with business work is I can help anybody in Colorado. I can help you if you're in Grand Junction.
Yeah.
Even outside of the state, I can at least provide some advice and recommendations. I have a great network of attorneys that I tap into for referrals. So I encourage people, regardless of where you are, I want to be a resource and provide value. So don't hesitate to reach out. And at the very minimum, I can give you a referral for somebody that can help you where you are.
Well, and a lot of people come to me because they know I have a pretty vast network, and I'm very honored by the fact that you trust me. And I will tell you, Brandon is the only attorney that I will go to for business. Even though you guys keep asking me, well, do you know somebody in this realm or this realm? I'm like, I know one person. It's not that I don't know several, but I would refer you one person, and it is Brandon, for all of your business and estate planning needs. So, any last comments?
Don't wait.
Yeah.
For anybody who's out there, even if it's just a consultation.
Yeah.
Consults are free. They should be for pretty much any attorney. But don't wait. If you have an issue or a question or you're considering starting a business, I tell people give it 60 days. Go 60 days before you plan to launch your business and start having these conversations. Because it's not just the attorney. Remember, it's the insurance agent, it's the IT specialist, it's the tax preparer, it's the bookkeeper, all these people that you might need. Not only does it take a while to find them and get on board with them, but sometimes it takes a while just to get things in place. Like insurance can take weeks. So I always tell clients when they come in, this is the first person you're talking to besides me, because it might take 3 weeks to get the insurance in place, and you can't take a single client until you have them.
Right.
So little things like that. So don't hesitate, don't wait, because again, on the back end, trying to fix these problems, it will. There is not an if. It will be more expensive. It will be more time consuming, and it risks your business operations.
There you go. So listen to our lawyer, and if you want to reach out to Brandon, again, it's Brandon at opcampbell.com. And with that, I look forward to hearing you tell me when people reach out to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
You guys have a great day.